here, but it's great to be here, great to see all of you here. I'm Regina Weatherspoon-Bell. I happen to be the founder of Dreamers, Visionaries, and Leaders Project. Thank you. We are celebrating 10 years of service to the high desert. Our mission has been, and still continues to be, celebrating our multicultural contributions to our American history. And so this year we celebrate 10 years of doing that here in the high desert. A little bit about us so you know part of the reason why we're here today. In doing that, we found a number of ways in which we do that. One of our primary ways is for Black History Month and Hispanic Heritage Month, we recognize citizens in this community for their professional accomplishments as well as their community service. And to date, we have recognized 178 individuals for that. Thank you. Extraordinary individuals, many of who are in this room. And I will probably ask you to stand later, so that means you have to stay throughout the program, right? And then also, we have gone on to establish a scholarship program. In 2014, we awarded our first scholarships. To date, we have awarded over 25 scholarships to high desert students, and that totals over $12,000 that our organization has given in support of those students. Now, not only are we committed to financially supporting our students, but we have a scholar mentor program. And I'm very proud of that program because what that program does is it pairs each one of our scholarship recipients with a mentor. And that mentor commits to stay with that scholarship recipient for their entire undergraduate experience. And that's phenomenal because we know that 12 to 13% of students that start college finish in 4 to 6 years. We want to make sure whether that percentage goes up or whether it decreases, which we hope it doesn't, but we want to make sure that our students are in that 12 to 13% that are completing their undergrad work within the 4 to 6 year period. So we're very, very proud of that program. We don't know of another program like that that is currently in effect here in the high desert, although we are working with other organizations to help them find their way to help fill that gap and meet that gap with those students. So that's just some of the work that we do. What you're seeing here today is part of a partnership that started 10 years ago with an extraordinary artist that we have here in the high desert, and that's Teresa Polly-Shelcroft. Teresa is an amazing artist, she's an amazing teacher, she's an amazing human being. And over the past 10 years, she has agreed quite often to be a partner in crime with Dreamers, Visionaries, and Leaders and help us to bring forth some of the cultural arts and treasures that we have here locally. So today, you are sitting in a room that is a great illustration of a lot of those treasures, artistically, especially in the fiber arts, that we are fortunate enough to have here with Teresa, and we are also showcasing another artist, Gwen Humphreys, who is sharing her work as well. And we want to say thank you to the both of you for what you were sharing with our community, especially during Black History Month. So before we get started into our program, we have a special guest, and I believe her name is Dara? Dara Goldratt, okay. And Dara is from the USGS. I'm not even going to attempt to tell you what that is. I'm on medication, did I tell you that? So I'm not even going to attempt to tell you what that is, but Dara's going to come up and she's going to share a few words about a project that they're working on here in the high desert and possibly some help you could use. Is that correct? Come on up, Dara.
It's kind of outreach for people to get chemistry about the water that they have that they might drink. It's at no cost. It's about $3,000 worth of results that we provide. It's included in a report as an overview in about a year and a half. But I'm available to answer questions. I'm staying in Victorville for the next few days, and I'm going to put some business cards over on the table so you can contact me. And I'm really pleased I could drop by. I didn't understand exactly what was going on, but it was really beautiful to see your artwork, and thanks for having me.
Great. Thank you.
So again, my name is Carlotta Diggs. This is Evan Bracey, Mr. Paul Peterson. We are called Living Proof, and it always behooves me to explain to people why we chose that name. That's because two of us are cancer survivors. So we are indeed living proof.
Yes, yes.
You are thinking of me, that you love me. It's amazing. Who am I that you are mindful of me, that you hear me when I call. Is it true that you are thinking of me? How you love me? Friend of God, He calls me friend. I am a friend of God. I am a friend to love me. It's
Facing the Rising Sun. And I'm not going to steal anybody's shine or anybody's glory, plus I don't want to mess up anything and have to apologize. So I'm going to let Teresa tell you all about this, but here's what I will say. It has been my joy, it has been my honor, it has been my privilege to work alongside of this lady for well over 10 years. We started long before 10 years. I started out with another project up here called the Today's Woman Foundation. And that's actually where Teresa and I met, and I was told that she was an extraordinary artist. And I got to tell you, the first time I went to her house, I was a little intimidated. I didn't even want to come in because I thought everything I've heard about this lady, she's going to say, lady, I don't know what you're talking about. You know that I am a professional, right? But instead, she invited me in, and she has not only invited me into her home, she has invited me into her art. And DBL sharing what her God-given talent is, and we thank you for that. So without further ado, and I don't want to be lengthy, I'm going to turn the mic over to these wonderful women who are graced and talented and blessed with this type of tremendous talent to share with you a little bit about who they are and why they do what they do, and what these beautiful, beautiful exhibits and illustrations of what's inside of them means and where that comes from. So please join me in welcoming Teresa Polly-Shelcroft and Ms. Gwen Humphreys.
Thank you, Regina. It's been, is this on? Can you hear me without it?
No.
Was it on? Okay. It has been my honor to work with Regina and also to serve the community. Last year, we gave a presentation on the history of African American arts and storytelling. And this year, we decided we would tell our stories in our quilts, Gwen and I. The title for the exhibit, Facing the Rising Sun, comes from the first song sung by Carlotta Diggs, which is the Negro National Anthem. And that is also my wedding music. And as I was listening to them singing, and I was thinking why I chose that as my wedding music, it's because I was dedicated to service. That's just... Anyway, I'm going to let Gwen start. I thought what we would do is talk a little bit about who we are, how we came to quilting, and then give you the opportunity to ask questions of our quilts. We can talk about some of the quilts if you want to, and then let everybody ask questions. Okay? All right. Gwen's first, because she's before me in the alphabet.
Oh. Hello, everyone. How are you?
Hi.
My name is Gwen Humphreys. I've been in this area since we were stationed at George Air Force Base, so 1973, almost 74. Because my daughter was almost 2 when we came here. I'm a retired speech language pathologist. Worked since 1978 for San Bernardino County, worked with very severely handicapped children and adults, and loved it, and was blessed to be able to retire, and now I can do a lot of things that I want to do. I still service a small charter school in Atlanta, but I only have to work a day and a half a week, so retirement is amazing. I really got started in quilting. My interest was because my grandmother and her friends all quilted. And, you know, growing up, I'm the oldest grandchild, and I was a nosy oldest grandchild, so I would sit under the table when they would quilt. And my job was really just to be quiet, eat the food, and, you know, if you're raised old school African American, children were not supposed to talk. But I love to listen to their gossip when they quilted. You could find out everything about everybody in church. And so, you know, I grew up and our family is Baptist, and so I just knew everything. But I used to love, and as they would quilt, you'd get little pieces of cloth. And initially, my mom also worked in a sweatshop, so there are 5 of us, we all grew up, we all know how to sew. My brothers, my sister, myself, and my 2 children. And so it was just a talent that we had growing up. But in our family, you know, nobody went to Joann's to pick up fabric. You know, that just did not happen. We took what was left and we, you know, they were able to make amazing quilts. I have one of my great-grandmother's quilts, bits and pieces of it still in our family. And I have a couple of my grandmother's quilts, but we didn't have the reverence for quilts the way people now, you know, now everybody's like, ooh.
When I got to college, I wanted to combine my painting and my quilting. And they said, impossible, you can't do that. I said, okay. So I was an art major. When we moved here with the Air Force, all of my things were in storage. So I had no painting. And there was a quilt class being offered. So that's when I learned quilting. The very first quilt I started is back there on that table, unfinished. And I was the same way. I learned traditional patterns, but they bored me. I didn't want to cut out all those pieces and follow direction. So I didn't quilt for a few years trying to figure out what to do. But finally it occurred to me, just do whatever you want. It's yours. So that's how I started. We came here with the Air Force in 1980. My husband practiced medicine in Apple Valley. My son grew up here, graduated from Victor High School. I never thought I'd be here longer than 2 years. It's been 40. I'm still teaching at the college 2 days a week. I'm retired from Hesperia School District. I love quilting, I love making art, and I love combining the two. What else do you want to know? I have a quilt with Smithsonian. When that quilt was done, I got a call from the curator. She said, "Would you like to donate your quilt to the Smithsonian?" I said, "Well, let me think about it." What am I thinking about? Of course. And it turned out that quilt was Threads of Faith, and I chose to do the Annunciation. So I show Mary sitting there and Archangel Gabriel and the dove coming in. But it was really about my son and the Annunciation of my own conception. So my son didn't know that, and I have the story on the wall with the quilt. He was in New York a week later working. I said, "Be sure you see the exhibit," and he couldn't believe it when he read the discussion and stuff. So quilting is very personal to me. It's not only the beauty, but it's the stories that you can relay in fabric. Yes?
How do you get quilts into the Smithsonian? So what is the process? Where they?
I don't know if they contacted the curator.
Member of the African American Quilt Guild.
Oh.
And so this, for me, when Theresa talked to me about this exhibit, I was like, oh, I need to do something new. So I figured that I would try out this pattern because I really want to make a bigger quilt out of it. So it's just fun. It's, if you look, you'll see her face up here and her hands, and then that's her clothing. And so she set on point, and it was just a fun quilt to make. Not a real hard pattern, but it's nice techniques. And when she said that I could use up my scraps, and I love using scraps. So we just basically just slice them into a diagonal and quilted them into panels and put them together. And you can make it as big as you want. And it's just a fun quilt. I like doing my own backings. I don't really like boring, like backings very much. I tend to make my own backings on my quilts. And this little quilt is called Thorns Grow. This is another quilt actually that I began in Audrey's class. And I think she named it something else, but it looks like thorns to me.
She called it bamboo.
Yeah. It looks like bamboo to me. It looks like
It
thorns.
looks like bamboo to you.
I like that. Okay.
You want to go back here?
Women war vets and also the homeless. So during your birth month, you have to make a quilt. And so this is my birthday quilt, basically. So when the exhibit comes down, then I will take it to my next quilt meeting and give it away. So it's a scrap quilt. And basically you just take all of your scraps again, which is something I like. You cut them into strips and you sew them together, and then you use it to make a quilt. You put it together however you want. And so this is my backing, because I love the back of this material. And one of my favorite hobbies, I am the best Goodwill Salvation in the world.
So I'm living after they were emancipated from slavery in Kentucky. So we still go there. My oldest ancestors are buried there. So I wanted to pay homage to them. Then in 2012, well, what happened? 1850, the children were kidnapped and sold into slavery. Fast forward 2012, a judge agreed to hear the case and said that they were free at the time of their kidnapping. So this quilt is to celebrate that freedom with my ancestors. Where shall I go next?
Where would you like?
Card game. showing a card game between a man and a woman. Notice he has on a mask, and he's protective of his hand, his cards. But it has batting in it. There's the back. I don't like plain backs either. I do my own. And then I added buttons that are representative of the suits of cards and so forth. So that's the story of that one. I piece mainly, and then I hand quilt.
So when you put your hand sewing through that quilt, what'd you do? How'd you sew through it?
I got the buttons on, but I couldn't quilt. This is a little piece I did. A few years ago, I did a painting called Snakes in the Grass of America, 1990 something. And I translated that painting to a quilt. And what is shown here is a native, and here. So that's the last one I did in December of last year. This one is called my friendship quilt. Each one of these is the same identical pattern. It's just how you put it together. And I did this, I was teaching art up at Idlewild in the summer. So it's all done by hand because I only had hand stuff with me. And my cat I just had to put her to sleep. So it's called my friendship quilt. It's dedicated to her. So I knew that's what it had to be. So it's actually 8 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I had this fabric of the capital, New York City, for years, so it came in handy. The angels are cut out of netting and stamped in gold. They just fell in.
How do you pick the shape of something? Like, what is the significance of the shape of the green one?
Whatever comes to mind. I don't really plan them.
It almost looked like a
Cloak.
Yeah.
Good idea. Think about that. I usually don't plan them. It's just whatever comes to mind. And usually it changes as I'm working on it. But speaking of beads, I submitted the card players to the fair's graduation gift with bills to remind him of our roots and our ancestry. Is that it?
You're gonna go back to that one?
Yes. Underground Railroad quilt. Each patch has a story about the Underground Railroad. She made it for me, and in this show I wanted to honor my ancestors, so I included her quilt. And the one over there, in the middle, that's hers also. Now, mind you, growing up, I never saw my mother thread a needle. She pretended she didn't know how. Then she's cranked out so many quilts, more than I have. Wow. This one was made by moved here at age 12. She was diagnosed with ovarian cancer at age 12. She lived until she was in her 40s. And she made this for me just before she passed. She called, she said, "Do you have any elephant fabric?" She didn't tell anybody. So this is all hand done and hand quilted. Beautiful. Explaining his work. I said, "How do you do this?" He said, "You just get your name out there." And that's been his advice to me and my advice to all parents.
Yes.
Well, let me ask you, oh, by the way, I'm from down there.
One of those.
Well, we've adopted you.
Okay.
We've adopted you second home.
No, we just came from the show at San Bernardino I tried to get you into. And, but I was so thrilled to see it happening here. So that's a wonderful thing. I mean, the Inland Empire is on the map. But I'm gonna ask you a man question.
Okay.
Okay? How do you keep these clean?
I keep them folded in a closet, and every now and then I take them out and refold them. When my son had this one, he had it hanging. What I tell people is, if you wash it on gentle cycle cold water and hang them.
Did you keep it out of the sun?
Yes. You can, even that one, my rainforest, the fabrics are fading and it's been in the closet all these years. So the dyes are not necessarily stable.
I have a question. Hi.
Hi,
Teresa. Nice seeing you again.
This
You
is
know,
Mr. Bibb's wife.
Right.
We love
Driving
her,
out
of course,
there.
yeah.
You know, I'm looking at your beautiful work, and you know, when you start, once you get your inspiration on a piece, do you normally just sketch it out, or you just go at it, right? And then the creative process of selecting the materials goes along with you, right, as you go?
Exactly.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I can remember when I was teaching, leaving school to go home, and an idea came to me, and I quickly sketched it. But generally, I don't. I just go for it.
Very beautiful, very impressive. Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, the history of quilting, so much that I think of that comes to mind is quilting together. So the quilting culture of sitting together and women quilting together. These are obviously your individual pieces. Is that because this is an expression of your individual art? Do you ever quilt together? Is that can you speak to that about?
When I go home, and now that my friends, you know, we're all old now. So,
Being a relative term.
right, being a relative term.
Yes.
For a couple of friends, now I will. But mostly for me, it's a solitary kind of thing. Most of us don't have that kind of time anymore, honestly.
It used to be sort of a fellowshipping.
Right.
Right.
And I know with my grandmother, it was a social fellowship, really communal thing, because they would make the baby quilts and the wedding quilts and, you know, all of that. But I think most of us just tend to live more isolated kind of lives now.
By the same token, I have a big quilt frame in my living room, which in the past, women would gather to work on it. And this is a quilt my aunt did before she died, and I'm finishing it for my cousins. But I would do it all by myself. But there are groups that still quilt together. And I can say Tony and Gwen and I quilt together on Thursday nights in Audrey's class. And we work on our own projects, but we're all in the same room. Yeah, so the gossip can happen.
That's the best part.
Right. In fact, I gave Audrey, our teacher, a gossip bell. I got it at Pier 1. It says gossip on it. So when she rings it, it's time to stop and listen.
I have a comment on that. You said, is it, do you do it? I would say that there's always two of us in developing a quilt, and that's me and the fabric. Yeah. Sometimes you have fabric and you just wait until it inspires you to put it together. You may have, I put them in separate bins. I counted 27 the other night trying to move them out for a meeting. But the fabrics will start to blend together, or there'll be a fabric that I picked up somewhere, like Gwen and I were talking about fabrics we brought from Africa. I thought,
Do either of you know how many quilts you've done?
almost in the
I have a lot. You know, I'm not as careful with my quilts as Teresa. To me, quilts are things of beauty, but they tend to be very utilitarian, so I put my stuff in the washing machine and wash them. So I have in the garage, which is probably blasphemous, things in categories. So I have
themselves that they'd like to express. I want to thank you all again for coming out on this beautiful Sunday afternoon to share. It is this type of response that we receive from our community that lets the museum know that we are interested in having exhibitions and displays like this. And that is critically important in order for us to be able to continue to do this and bring this type of programming here in our own backyard and showcase our own artists. I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge Mr. and Mrs. Bibbs, who have when we talk about Mr. Bibbs as an artist and what his art means to us as a people, particularly as African Americans in today's society, I'm not even going to go down that path because I would fail in expressing what your artistry has meant for us and does for us and continues to do for us in terms of telling what the Black experience looks like and feels like. You have allowed God to use you in a very powerful way. And I am proud to stand here today and say that you and your wife have been so gracious in your outreach and support of us here in the high desert, particularly of DBL. Every year, they have since, almost 5 years ago now?
Right.
Almost 5 years ago, we honored Mr. Bibbs as a DBL icon honoree, very well deserved, and it was our privilege. Every year since that time, he has gifted all of our honorees with a special print from his own collection. And he does that every year without fail, just graciously. And he comes whenever we ask, whenever he's available, because, he travels the world. Everybody ain't able. He travels the world. But he graciously comes and shares of his talent, and his wife is just extraordinary in the support that she lends and she gives, and also the insight that she has been able to pour into me as a woman of color who is desperately trying to make a positive impact in our community. And not by being divisive or separating or saying you don't understand, but by inviting all to come in and share and participate, celebrate, and understand. And so I want to publicly say thank you to the both of you. You know we have adopted you as High Desert folks. So no matter what, you're part of the family. But thank you for coming out today to share with us, for coming out to support, of course, Teresa and Gwen Humphreys. Again, thank you to all of you. There's information on the table about DVL, so if you're interested in learning more about who we are and what we do have a website. It's dvlproject.com. There are a number of ways that you can get involved with us, and we wish that you would. We invite you to come and join us as we celebrate all of these beautiful contributions that make up who America is and who we are at our best. So we invite you to come and be a part of that with us. We're going to invite you to have cookies and punch and all that good stuff, right, Ters? And fudge. And then to stay around, take pictures, interact with the artists. They love it. And again, thank you for coming out this afternoon. Have a wonderful and blessed afternoon.